As you all know, these are Jehovah's Witnesses' famed bunker videos. Up to this point in the bunker videos, they've tried to instill this sense of humility in their members. Don't get me wrong, humility is a fine thing, but they take it a little too far. A lot too far, actually. They also heavily discouraged even becoming acquaintances with co-workers, even taking coffee breaks with them. They want you to find every opportunity you can to talk about God, and by doing so, it both alienates detractors and draws believers even closer. So they've got some interesting tactics going on here. Now they've got another dramatization to drive home another interesting point. Let's get into it. So before they played the video to the crowd at the assembly, when this video first came out, they read this line to the people. It came straight from the governing body. It said, "In the following dramatization, we rejoin our brothers and sisters who are in hiding in a basement during the Great Tribulation. Notice the importance of working hard to overcome fear of man." Okay, this video came out around the time I started my YouTube channel, a few years ago. Let's see what they showed to millions of Jehovah's Witnesses when it came out.
I just don't get it. Kevin knows we're in the Great Tribulation. Why would he say he doesn't want anything to do with us anymore?
Darren, I thought you had heard by now.
Heard what?
When our message changed from good news to judgment, he was telling everyone that it would make problems for us and that he was done.
Okay, now the first thing to note about this is the fact that they're making it out like this Kevin fellow believes that Jehovah's Witnesses have the truth. He knows they're in the middle of the Great Tribulation. It isn't about him just not believing this anymore. It isn't about him questioning their policies on child abuse. It isn't about him feeling like it's harmful to society or any of that. It's about him, not wanting to make waves? He evidently still believes it, since he knows they're in the Great Tribulation. Every time they depict somebody leaving the religion, they're almost never depicted as just not really accepting the teachings anymore. It's always about them losing some quality that Jehovah's Witnesses view as important. The only way they can imagine somebody leaving is if they've been taken over by Satan, because they knew the truth and they gave it up. Just imagine what they must think of me. I actually make a living off of bringing ex-Jehovah's Witnesses in from the cold and helping them break the brainwashing. They must think I'm a pawn of Satan. Anyways, about Kevin. He just doesn't like knocking on doors. Honestly, you can't blame him for that, but the image they're portraying of him is one that resonates with Jehovah's Witnesses. He couldn't take the heat. He couldn't take the persecution. He was embarrassed by Jehovah's Witnesses. He was afraid for his life. That's something in which Jehovah's Witnesses take pride. Not giving in to embarrassment, not giving in to fear, not fearing for your life. Standing strong, despite whatever Satan throws at you. Okay, let's continue with the video.
Darren, think about it. We have all tried to help Kevin.
Yeah, I remember.
Think back to Sunday afternoons when we preached in the northern estates. We asked if he wanted to go. Hey, Kevin, do you want to join us? We're going up to the northern...
He said he had the weekend shift. Again. But that the people there have their paradise and they don't listen anyway.
And when we do public witnessing...
Hey, Kevin. We've been having great experiences out there at Turner Street.
Yeah, that sounds nice.
Yeah, that's by your job. Do you get to talk to your coworkers about it?
He said it wasn't a good idea to make waves at the store.
For as much as we've all tried to help Kevin, he let his fear of man go unresolved.
If Kevin couldn't preach with boldness during favorable times, imagine how much harder it was for him to loyally rely on Jehovah during this difficult time.
Yeah, now, during the Great Tribulation.
And this is where they're drawing battle lines between people. They've set up this image of a questionable Jehovah's Witness. If you're having trouble talking to other people, if you're nervous about bringing up your beliefs at every turn, no matter what, especially if you're told not to at work or something, if you work weekends and you aren't as dedicated to knocking on doors as some other people in the congregation, it's a sign of weakness. You can't expect them to make it through God's great war. Don't get too attached to them because they probably aren't going to be around for long. And that's what happens. They aren't instructed to shun people until they're actually disfellowshipped or disassociated, but they're sure as hell encouraged and pushed in that direction beforehand. When you see these kinds of signs, you're supposed to back away from them. You're supposed to find a new friend. That's another method they use to keep all their members in check. If you start to fade a little bit, your friends and family will start to back away. A constant reminder that you have to stay in, and you have to ramp up your effort to full power, or you risk losing everything. Okay, let's check out the next clip.
Open up.
Hey, don't you know the password? What the hell is this password for anyways? Why do they knock 3 times, then 2 times, then 1 time? If they give their 2 response knocks, don't the police or military or whoever's after them already know there's somebody in there hiding? It seems to me like they'd take the opportunity to bust the door in and arrest them at that point. Why the code? It feels outrageous that they'd be doing something so obvious and stupid. I'm sorry, I know this is a little beside the point, but seriously, giant plot hole here. Can't get sucked into the story unless it's at least a little realistic. If they wanted to make it realistic, they would have given the knockers a special knock to do so they know the person at the door was legit. And they wouldn't make a sound until they verified it wasn't somebody coming to kill them by listening for that special series of knocks. Give me a break, people. I'm honestly surprised to hear myself say this, but they're terrible at hiding in basements from the police.
What is going on out there?
They're just north of town, searching every house.
Every house?
Yeah, the neighborhood's in a panic.
Let's stay calm and lean on Jehovah. At some point, we can expect a final attack on God's people. But Jehovah's going to give us the courage we need. So let's pray together. We'll read the scriptures, and we'll keep sharing what's helped us remain loyal to God.
In this part, you can see them build up that fear and sense of urgency in people. They're trying to portray their situation as absolutely dire, not just in the video, but in real life. They've been saying Armageddon was going to be any 5 minutes now for over a century. They have to keep leaning into it to keep people scared and keep them invested in the religion. Earlier, you heard the girl say that the message changed from good news to judgment. That's one of the signs to look for that Jehovah's Witnesses think they're in the Great Tribulation. And I'm honestly wondering if they'll ever do it. They'll stop accepting people into the religion. They'll just start knocking on people's doors and telling them they're f***ed. That's it. I will be so fascinated to see what happens if they finally start doing that. Don't think they're above setting deadlines and jumping the gun. Just look at 1914. They said that's when the end was gonna come, and when 1914 rolled around and the end didn't come, they said that Jesus did in fact come back as predicted. He just did it invisibly. Then in 1919, he picked this organization out of all others as his chosen mouthpiece on earth. Now the speaker's supposed to read this next part to the crowd before playing the next clip. It says, "Had Kevin addressed this fear of man and accepted assistance to overcome it, he likely would have had the strength to remain loyal during the Great Tribulation. As demonstrated in the 4 videos, strengthening our loyalty to Jehovah now is essential to remaining loyal under future tests of faith, including the upcoming Great Tribulation." Okay, let's take a look at the next part.
Darren, could you read Psalm 116 and verse 12?
It says, "With what will I repay Jehovah for all the good he has done for me?"
How can Psalm 116 verse 12 give us courage right now? Elaine.
Well, Jehovah's always done well for us in the past, so we can trust he'll do the same for us now and in the future.
That's so true, that he's always done good things for us. But from what I've seen, what really makes a difference is how we respond to that goodness. For some in the congregation, those good things became a test of their loyalty.
Okay, wait a minute. So they're saying that Jehovah gave people good things, and having those good things was a test of loyalty. That is super confusing, but I'll be watching for what they mean by that in the next clip.
We have a letter to read. To all congregations of Jehovah's Witnesses, dear brothers and sisters, if we are to have Jehovah's favor and blessing as individuals,
They found fault with what the organization was doing or not doing. They criticized any teaching or arrangement they didn't agree with. And whether they realized it or not, their critical attitude was eroding their own loyalty, and it was affecting others. Eventually, some were no longer our brothers. But the more grateful our family was for what Jehovah gave us, the stronger our attachment to him became. So I've learned to have appreciation for everything Jehovah's done for us and for his organization. It's helped us all make it to this point, and I'm sure it will help us stay loyal through the rest of the Great Tribulation.
Okay, so here's what I picked up from this. It was a little veiled, but what I'm getting from it is that people are criticizing the decisions the society makes. Oh, look at that. I slipped into the old speech patterns. I mean the governing body, not the society. Now, I don't think there's anything wrong with criticism at all. In fact, it's necessary for everybody. I expect people to criticize the things I say. I criticize the things others say. Not just the Watchtower Society, not just other cults, but other activists and YouTubers too. We have to keep each other in check. We can't just let our ideas run rampant. Being out of touch with other people is the first step down the wrong road. When I make a mistake in a video, I hear about it within the first 5 minutes, because I check the comments. I talk to people on Discord and Facebook. I'm willing to make corrections. I'm willing to admit when I'm wrong. If you can't take criticism, then you've got a problem. And that's the main issue with the Watchtower Society, aka Jehovah's Witnesses. They're completely out of touch with their members, with the world, and they believe their orders are coming straight from God. So when they catch wind that somebody is criticizing a decision they make, they take it as a personal attack. And they take it as an attack on God. I understand that mindset. Taking criticism isn't easy. I know it isn't. But being honest requires you take criticism. And that's one of the main reasons why the Watchtower Society isn't honest. Because they give God credit for their bad decisions, and when they're called out on it, they force the critics' family members to shun them. Doesn't get much more cult-like than that. Let's circle back around. Here's what the speaker is supposed to say to the audience after the video finishes playing. Those words, stated in the discussion in the video, provide a sobering lesson for us. If we want to build an unbreakable attachment to Jehovah, we must, in both attitude and action, do as 1 Thessalonians 5:18 says, give thanks for everything. So what was this dude saying he appreciated? Remember, right before the clip, he said,
For some in the congregation, those good things became a test of their loyalty.
What good things was he talking about? What good things was the outline talking about? They were talking about the quote-unquote good things that people were criticizing. Pick anything the Watchtower Society is criticized for. Forcing people to shun friends and family members. Mistreating or neglecting their kids if they stop believing. Mishandling child abuse cases. Refusing to report them to the police. These are all things the Watchtower Society has been in lawsuits over at one point or another. That's what they're calling gifts from Jehovah. These people are completely out of touch with reality. They live on a compound, separated from the rest of society, and they have no idea what real-world effects they're having on millions of people. I can't stand it. But I refuse to stop. As long as there's air in my lungs, we won't stop. Okay. That's all I've got for you guys. Don't forget to check me out on Patreon. That's how I managed to keep going through the volatility of YouTube. As expected, as happens with everybody on this platform in January, my income just got cut in half because the holiday season is over and everybody's done advertising. Ads aren't worth what they once were, so anything you guys can do to help support me is appreciated. It'll keep my bills paid and it'll keep food in Alpha Force Zero's tummy while I fight extremism. Also, check out my podcast where I talk to guests, talk about random subjects like games, news, and all kinds of other stuff. I also do a podcast where I read from extremist literature. It's pretty interesting, so give it a look. Also, check me out on Twitter, Facebook, and all other social media. All links are in the description as always. Thanks for watching, guys.